You're listening to Short Inspirations from Ralph. Mind Matters, Part 3. When we're talking about the mind, you'll find that you'll instinctively choose to walk in the direction of your dominant thoughts. In other words, your mind sort of leads you towards action. And what you consistently think about will produce spontaneous actions. Paul says to the Philippians in chapter 4 verse 7, "And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus." That's why we are suggesting and even promoting this whole idea of prayer, because you're placing your mind in His hands and you're allowing God to guard your hearts and minds. That's incredible. Our second point in this series is I can learn to focus, to direct my mind. I can begin to tell my mind where I want it to go. Paul puts it like this, and he uses this language a fair amount in the New Testament. Colossians 3 verse 2. Set your minds on things above, not on earthly things. It's actually worth expanding that verse to see what it really means. In the King James Version it says, set your affection on things above. And in the Greek it actually is the word phroneo, which means, listen to this, to exercise the mind. So there is a sort of training process involved here. We create new habits, new patterns in our minds. It's almost like telling yourself there is a bigger picture here. There is more to this than my negative mind, my depressed or down in the dumps thinking. We look at it from God's perspective, from His perspective. And it doesn't mean that we think about clouds or heaven or people with harps. It's thinking about God's ultimate plan, His generational blessing, His treasures. The Passion Translation says, yes, feast on all the treasures of the heavenly realm and fill your thoughts with heavenly realities and not with the distractions of the natural realm. Because there is big stuff going on in our world, things that are so destructive that if we dwell on them or set our minds on those things, then we become trapped and imprisoned into a negative that can become like a prison. And contained in that is all these deceptions and lies that can dictate our futures. And we can end up saying to ourselves, did God really say? We can arise out of a victim mentality of thinking that whatever thoughts are running through my head just control my life and there's nothing I can do about it. There is everything you can do about it, because the greatest and ultimate freedom you can have, the freedom that cannot be taken away from you, is the freedom to decide what your mind will dwell on. So when we wake up each morning, we have two choices. We can think, I've got far too much to do today. I don't know how I'm ever going to get through it. I have been unfairly burdened in my life, and people don't know what my upbringing was and what a rough deal that I've had. All these burdens I've got and demands on me. Or the very same person that is saying these things can change it and wake up and think this thought, this is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is not denying reality or living in some sort of a unreality. this is having that greater perspective, is that putting our minds and our hearts and our affections and our interest on things that are related to the bigger picture, on the God picture, not on earthly things. One leads to death, the other leads to life. But the ultimate in mind direction is to pray. Not only does it scientifically affect my brain, as we said in the last episode, but it pushes me in the direction of this thing called gratitude. May God bless you today.